It's been nearly 100 hours and counting. The relief and rescue operations continue on a war footing for the fourth straight day in Wayanad. 330 people have been confirmed dead. 3 deadly landslides exactly a what threw the normal life out of gear. In fact, besides the death tally, what's more shocking and surprising is that 300 more people are presently missing. So the death toll, unfortunately, is expected to go up. The government is unsure about how many people were exactly residing there. So it's very difficult to understand how many more people are going to be surviving this calamity. There are widespread fears that the death toll may actually end up crossing 500 eventually. But even as all the hopes are getting lost, there was a very slim chance of anyone surviving. There was a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. Earlier today, the Indian Army managed to miraculously rescue 4 people alive from under the debris. An Air Force helicopter was then sent to facilitate the rescue of those rescued. One of the women is experiencing difficulties with her leg and she has been taken for medical treatment. And it's a miracle, viewers, the fact that 4 long days of such weather, such a massive tragedy, and people have somehow found a way to survive. And this is again giving a lot of hope to the army that there could be more people waiting for someone to reach out to them and rescue them.
To take us through how the last couple of days have been, and how difficult has the terrain been, how difficult has the rescue and search operation?
Since the 30th, when this tragic incident occurred, the Indian Army has been working tirelessly. We have mobilized on war footing from various places across South India, from Trivandrum, from Bangalore, from Kannur and Kozhikode, to move here by air and by road, so that we are effective here at the shortest possible time to assist in the rescue and relief operations.
Okay. Now, when we are, looking at today how the efforts are going on, when people look at it, it's been over 3 days now. It's about 3 days after the landslide. Is there any hope that people could still be found alive, or is it predominantly now a search operation that's going to go?
We are hoping always that people are found alive. Because we are still searching with the hope that there would be someone alive under the debris somewhere. So while our efforts are towards going to all areas and searching, our hope is somebody is alive. But as each day passes, the situation looks grimmer and grimmer.
Thanks to the Bailey Bridge that has been built at Chooramala, heavy machinery, earth movers have been able to reach Mundakayil. And not just that, a lot of rescue personnel carrying a lot of equipment that could cut through debris have now come here to one of the worst hit areas. This entire village nearly has been washed away by the flash floods because of the landslides, of course, that happened. The landslide tip, of course, is very, very close to where I'm standing. And you can see all around, as my video journalist Pradeep is going to show you these pictures. It shows the vast devastation and the destruction that this landslide has left behind. Right now you have forces from the army, from the fire and rescue of Kerala state. You also have the NDRF and volunteers who are working day and night to try and identify if anybody has been trapped. Predominantly now, since 3 days have passed, it is a search for mortal remains so that it can be handed over to the families who are right now at relief camps, who don't know where the family members are. At least handing over a mortal remain would mean that they can conduct final rites at least. But up until now, while of course search operations have been conducted over the last couple of days, first of course manually and then using earth movers, they've been able to get over 20 mortal remains. All around, of course, you see even beneath where I'm probably standing, there possibly is a home. And these earth movers are helping, of course, channel out the water, move out the debris, and possibly find any more people who could be still trapped inside. Sniffer dogs as well are being pressed into action. So it's an extensive operation that's currently underway here in Mundakayil.
आपको हम दिखा रहे हैं कि इस वक्त किस युद्ध स्तर पर जो है ये रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन इस वक्त किया जा रहा है। मुंडकई में इस वक्त हम मौजूद है, चूरलमला से 4 किलोमीटर दूर, क्योंकि रोड कनेक्टिविटी पूरी तरह से टूट चुकी है, तो पैदल चलकर यहाँ तक पहुंचे हैं। और ये तस्वीरें आप देख सकते हैं कि मुंडकई में इस वक्त बहुत बड़ा डैमेज हुआ है। ये जो पैच आप देख रहे हैं, यहीं से पूरा ये जो लैंडस्लाइड है वो शुरू हुआ था, जो कि यहाँ से पूरा मलबा जो है वो नीचे की तरफ यानी चूरलमला की तरफ ये पूरा मलबा पहुंचा और काफी घरों को जो है वो तबाह कर दिया है। ये तमाम तस्वीरें यहाँ पर आपको दिखाई देगी चारों तरफ। तो घर की तस्वीरें आप देखिए कि जब ये बहुत फोर्स के साथ ये भीषण लैंडस्लाइड जब आया तो किस तरह से तमाम घरों को जो है वो डैमेज कर दिया है। ये सभी जो घर आप देख रहे हैं हमारे विजुअल्स में, ये किसी भी वक्त गिर सकते हैं, ये किसी भी वक्त ढह सकते हैं। इस अवस्था में ये घर इस वक्त यहाँ पर दिखाई दे रहे हैं। दूसरी तरफ आप देख सकते हैं कि जेसीबी की मदद से लगातार मलबों को हटाकर लोगों को सर्च करने का कार्य यहाँ पर चल रहा है और जल्द से जल्द ताकि जो लोग इस मलबे में फंसे हैं उन्हें निकाला जा सके। बहुत ही चुनौतीपूर्ण भरा ये रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन, क्योंकि लगातार एक और बारिश रुक कर हो रही है और ऐसे में मलबा जो बहुत बड़ी चुनौती थी, लेकिन आज हैवी मशीनरीज क्योंकि पहुंच चुकी है, ऐसे में अब इस रेस्क्यू वर्क को तेजी मिल चुकी है।
We are now in Kalpetta town. Here an old building which was already not in a great condition. The district collector's office had marked it for demolition. The roof of this building came crashing down a while ago. Fortunately, there were no people on top, but you can see extensive damage to the roof. There were shops below. They managed to get out immediately when they heard a huge sound. You can see the destruction that it has left. The entire main road right now, of course, the vehicular movement has been severely affected. A lot of bystanders, of course, curious as to what exactly has happened, but once again, it's an indicator that if the rains continue, the problems for the people of Wayanad could only increase. Fortunately, in this instance, no casualties or no injuries, but an indicator of how dangerous this heavy downpour that has been, of course, lashing different parts of Wayanad really is. With video journalist Pradeep, this is Deepak Bopana for Times Now.
Now, these are, of course, ground reports that you're looking at right from Wayanad. It's helping you understand what exactly is the situation there, because we can sit here, talk about how difficult the rescue operation is, but only when you actually look at the ground reports, you understand the sort of terrain and also the sort of challenges that the rescue teams are facing. So any survival right now would be a miracle, and we've seen 4 of them today. Right now, meanwhile, former Wayanad MP Rahul Gandhi, who interacted with affected citizens in the hospital and also relief camps last evening, was also briefed by the forest officials regarding the ongoing situation. Rahul once again demanded that the tragedy should be treated differently and be given much more importance than other tragedies.
We are here to help in any way possible. Congress family would like to commit to build 100+ houses here. Of course, it is a terrible tragedy. I think Kerala has not seen this type of a tragedy in one area. And I think I'm going to raise it in Delhi and also with the Chief Minister here, that this should be treated differently. This is a different level of tragedy and it should be treated differently.
Meanwhile, the centre has also issued a draft notification to declare over 55,000 square kilometres of Western Ghats across 6 states as ecologically sensitive area, which will entail a complete ban on mining and also quarrying. This will also include 13 villages in landslide hit Wayanad as well. So, of course, the viewers will be discussing about this. A lot of focus has been on Wayanad, on Kerala. What exactly has gone wrong? How can we prevent this tragedy in the future? And joining me on the broadcast to help us understand more on this are my experts for the day. Naveen Bhatnagar, who is a former DIG of the NDRF. Neena Khanna, disaster management consultant. And of course, shortly we'll be joined by K.A. Shaji as well, who's a senior journalist. Mr. Naveen Bhatnagar, let me start with you here. A lot of focus is on the rescue operation right now. And of course, talk about what's happening there, what went wrong in Wayanad. But let's now focus on the rescue operations. How difficult is it right now for the army there? Because on one hand, there is a very slim chance of for anyone to have survived for this long. Secondly, the terrain is unrelenting. The nature is also unrelenting. So what would be the morale right now of the Indian Army and also the other rescue teams that are there on ground?
See, we have witnessed a miracle also in so many cases. Here also we can have the experience of this miracle. So many people can be escaped, and but definitely situation is worse, and lot of this thing, mud and this rain and this coming threat of raining is the main challenge. But it's a good news that at least for 3 days we have the enough time to make this rescue in a very fast manner, and we have the machine, required machines we are getting, and our people day and night is doing the job of rescue, and they are in the hope that we will make the maximum, we will complete the maximum rescue operation. So for that purpose, whatever things we can do, we are doing. Especially we are taking the help of drone cameras as well as the other equipments also, and sniffer dogs also. So we are in the hope that no further this manpower will be damaged. But anyhow, we will achieve our target, and our rescue operation is going in a very fruitful manner and in the right direction. I tell you, we are going in the right direction,
Right.
and
Right.
we are, yeah. You are saying?
Absolutely. Mr. Naveen Bhatnagar, like you rightly pointed out, of course, we can all expect miracles, and we also saw one of them today. 4 people rescued from debris. A lot of people are not even expecting to find that. And again, a lot of people might be out there waiting for the rescue teams to reach out to them. So that's a hope that the Indian Army is also sticking on to. K. Shaji joins us on the broadcast right now. Mr. Shaji, help us understand what's happening right now in Kerala. What's the latest that we are tracking? Because, of course, on one hand, there's politics playing out. Let's not talk about politics. None of us here are interested in that right now. But also help us understand what the Kerala government is doing right now. What's the lesson to be learned here? Because again, multiple red flags had been issued in the past as well, especially concerning this particular area where there has been a landslide. So what's the lesson here for the Kerala government and also for people across the state who live in such sensitive zones? What's the lesson to be learned? Right. If Mr. K. Shaji, if you can hear me right now, what's the lesson here to be learned for the people of Kerala and also the government? Right. There seems to be some issue with his audio there. We'll, of course, try connecting with K. Shaji. But Nina Khanna, I'll come across to you now. A lot has been said about the landslide prone areas in the nation. I have a lot of data with me right now, and I just don't want to make it too technical, but around 12.6% of India is vulnerable to landslides. And what I understand is that we already have a lot of key warning systems in place. For example, landslide early warning system, which is called LEWS. There's a landslide hazard zonation map as well, satellite-based monitoring. So a lot of systems in place to ensure that warnings are given out well in advance so that people are evacuated. How did any of this not work?
Firstly, I'd like to thank you for having me on your show. And the second part is that I'd like to say a little prayer for all those families who've lost. And it's actually very tragic here. But here I'd like to say that India is the first country to make climate change policies for mankind and the islands, for mainlands and islands like Lakshadweep and Ashish. Global warming is, of course, happening, and we all have to adopt to it. And the eco-sensitive areas should be identified. That's very important here. Community should be aware of the vulnerabilities. Any person who lives there should actually know what are we vulnerable for. And for this, there has to be real community training. Firstly, it should start from the house, and then it should go to the village level. And there in the village level, we have NGOs, and we have not only the NGOs, but we have volunteers from the village who should participate on this. It is their space. And when you think it is my land, it is my space, you definitely look after it. And deforestation, as you mentioned now, it should be stopped. And how does it stop really? That we plant trees which hold the soil together, rather than having crushed crop or having crops which do not hold the soil so much. Like it's mentioned, what happens is when you have this mining happening, it just happens that it reduces the strength of the hill and this hilly area. Unless we have a policy adopted here for policy, which is for slope management. This is a different policy altogether. And we are not going to escape any disastrous situation on this unless we do this policy. Debris flow from hilly terrain, when it comes down, what happens is that it has its own weight. The water has its own weight. And nobody anticipated actually that it was going to rain so much. What happens is in hilly areas, mostly there is open discharge of the water. And this open discharge is basically from buildings and from hotels, which are all there. And when we make this construction, the hills are actually vertical. So we are actually cutting into the vertical area. Funds are always a restriction in our country. I don't know why. We curtail number of culverts and drains when monsoons happen. The picture just changes. And we can see this even in our capital here.
Absolutely.
Repeated assessment.
Neena Khanna will of course talk about the details of this. What exactly is the protocol? What needs to be done? But K. Shaji, I believe his audio is fixed now. Mr. K. Shaji, what exactly is the lesson here to be learned for the Kerala government? Because again, let's not get into the politics, but on one hand, we say that there were warnings issued by the centre. The government says, the state government says that there were not complete warnings. There were mixed signals that were received. It was not clear what to do. So as a state which actually has such issues cropping up again and again, what exactly are the lessons here for the Kerala government to be learned?
For the last 10 years, Kerala has been witnessing annual extreme weather events, and they have further aggravated since 2018, the massive flood. And every year, we are talking about early warning system, advanced rescue operations, and evading the catastrophic kind of impacts of climate change. But practically, nothing is happening. That is the reality Kerala is facing now. And we can see the situation now. The government is saying the present situation, the present calamity in Mapad region, it was because of the huge precipitation and also the super saturation of the soil, gravel, loose rocks. And they have detached from the hard rock, and they, as a result of the heavy rain, they moved strongly, and that is why this happened. And here also, the government is not ready to acknowledge these anthropogenic factors which have aggravated the crisis. I am not saying it was not an issue of climate. Still, I believe it is a case of climate change induced crisis. It is a climate change has a crucial role. The excessive rains have created this crisis. But there are many things that contributed to such a magnitude of the things. That is a clear thing. But in the case of the government, so far the government is not ready to accept its own mistakes. Because the similar kind of tragedies unfolded in 2020, 4 years ago, in the Pettipudi, which is located hardly 3 kilometers from the
Shaji, just to interrupt you there, I have some data with me about the most vulnerable zones in Kerala as far as landslides are concerned. Idukki, Ernakulam, Kottayam, Wayanad, Kozhikode, Malappuram, these are places that are actually very prone to landslides, and we've seen in the past as well, landslide actually do occur there. And again, the question that needs to be asked is, when these are already zones that are prone to landslide, then why does the state government has to wait for a very clear warning about a landslide? Any small warning, even an orange alert, should be enough for the state government to ensure that it is ensuring that evacuation there is on full throttle.
I will tell you one thing. I am hailing from Wayanad. I am a native of Wayanad. And there is an agency in Wayanad. Its name is Hume. It is based in Calcutta. It given advance warning and it transferred the information to the district administration, but they have done nothing. And in the case of this same Chooramala or Mundakayil region, from my childhood, I have been hearing about occasional kind of landslides. Maybe
Mr. Shaji, are you saying there was a prior information about the landslide? Sorry to interrupt. Are you saying there was a prior information about the landslide and the state government did nothing?
There is a Wayanad-based organization, a scientific research organization that was speciality in climate change related research. They said this kind of rain will create something dangerous, will create some danger for the people in this particular region. That was that information they passed it to the government. Already newspapers in Kerala have published it. Because there are scientists with the organization, they clearly said they given the advance warning. And in the case of Kerala, like you listed all these places, all these places are part of the Western Ghats. And in the Dr. Madhav Gadgil's report that was prepared about in 2030, it clearly mentioned these are highly vulnerable areas, including Chooramala, even this Mundakayil. These are extremely vulnerable. And there must be advanced preparations to avoid such catastrophes. But nothing happened. So in the case of Kerala government, the disaster preparedness has not taken place. And always since 2018, the government is only doing rescue and rehabilitation after the tragedy. That is a good thing. Kerala is considerably doing great service in the case of rescue and rehabilitation. But in the case of advanced preparedness, the state is doing nothing. So even now, the government's position
Absolutely.
is
Why not focus on prevention? Like they say, prevention is better than cure. I mean, rescue and rehabilitation is a good thing, but why not prevent it altogether? Neena Khanna, very interesting points there that K. Shaji is mentioning here, the fact that there was very prior information about the fact that there's a potential landslide. Now, what we're understanding out of this, because we're getting a lot of information from multiple quarters, what we're understanding is that there was a very clear warning about a potential landslide that could actually occur in this area, but multiple agencies on multiple level, let's not talk about if it's the center or the state, multiple agencies have failed. Going forward, what should be the protocol, do you think, that should actually ensure that immediately as soon as there's a red flag, there should be evacuation that's done right away instead of actually waiting for a further escalation of the red flag?
It's a very interesting thing that you mentioned. This only will happen if the community is prepared. We talk about the community and we talk about the family, and unless they are prepared, they know what they have to do. And this would only come if they have enough of training. And not only training, it's we actually in our country, what happens is, there is a very famous saying in Punjabi, I'm a Punjabi of course, कि जब सोटा सिर पे पड़ता है, फिर होश आती है. Most of these things only go for relief and rescue and not for mitigation. The mitigation measure that is prior, that should be there. And this would come only if each one knows your duty. And this would come only if there is proper training, not only in relief, but in rescue. Proper mock exercises have to be done. And periodically. Like we have now, very fortunately, in schools.
Exactly.
And things like that. It has to come on a community level.
Exactly.
And Kerala is
Neena Khanna, you made a very interesting point there that there's so much hue and cry about the rescue and rehabilitation, but when it comes to mitigation, nobody talks about it. Naveen Bhatnagar, you're of course a former DIG of the NDRF. You've been involved in a lot of such situations. A lot of people now are suddenly waking up and saying that, oh my God, what's happened in Wayanad? How did this happen? And it's happened overnight. But the fact of the matter is it's not happened overnight. There have been multiple red flags. There have been multiple reports. Gadgil report, like Shaji mentioned. There's also an IIT Delhi report that came earlier this year. Multiple reports have been actually warning about this. But clearly there seems to be some sort of a lapse, deficiency in our protocols. There doesn't seem to be a coordination between multiple agencies. NDRF is also one of the most important agencies. Again, going forward, what do you think should be the standard operating protocols so that immediately as soon as there's a warning, immediately as soon as there's an alert, all the agencies coordinate together and immediately there's a rescue work that's done?
See, everybody is talking about the environment and other protocols like that. You know, the Chief Minister is the chairman of State Disaster Management Authority. And he is having the complete office bearers with him. And as per his instructions, our NDRF moves. So here also we got the information from CM office. So immediately 3 companies were moved. 3 teams were moved to the affected area on 25th and 26th with our equipment. So you can't say that CM was not aware about it or was not giving any instructions. So he was very well aware and complete information was there. He was knowing that there is an orange alert and the same information was passed to us And also we got the information from the Delhi headquarters as well as the PMO office and MHK office. So everybody was knowing about it, and everybody knows that what will be the repercussion of this thing. So orange alert or red alert, it means landslide definitely will be there, because these all mountains are sandy mountains, sandy, not hard rocks. So definitely, and lot of illegal work was going on.
Right.
Lot of minings were there. Lot of illegal people were resident there. They were unauthorizedly residing there. So that is why this thing happened, as well as the other construction site was also there. So no survey was done, whereas in such institutions, survey is must, technical survey, because on in that survey, what we are seeing, that is there any water stock or water is being stored in the area. And that same thing happened. Water was stored on the height, and when the heavy rain came and it is mangled, and immediately this landslide came, and people were not knowing about it. So landslide will never give you the signal that I am coming. So it's we people, the chairman
Absolutely.
of the NDMA, chairman is responsible for this thing. Sorry, I should not comment, but fact
Absolutely.
is fact.
Naveen Bhatnagar,
Yeah.
really appreciate you for joining us on the broadcast. You're, of course, giving us a very good idea about the protocols in place. And Neena Khanna and K.
I'd
Shaji
like to
also
say
helped us
something.
understand
I'd
more
like to
about
say something.
what exactly happens when such warnings are received. We are running short of time on the broadcast. Neena Khanna ji, I know you have to make a point, but we're also running short of
Yeah.
time on the broadcast. We'll, of course, have yet another discussion on this. But again, like they say, this again seems to be lack of coordination, because right now, from what we are understanding, there were warning systems in place. There was also, again, an alert issued by the center. The state government had also got a parallel alert from another agency. But why wasn't action taken? What was the lapse that actually occurred? This is something that has to be a part of the investigation. This is something, in fact, that has to be discussed so that these issues do not occur in the future, because we have enough resources to identify the issues. How do we act on it? That's something that we really need to work on.